Chooch, you muted yourself.
We lost music.
Yeah.
With hosts Christiana Ellis
But I got to hear him laugh at himself through the wall.
and Nuchtchas.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Wall, Season 6, Episode 6, as this is Game of Thrones, Episode 6, Blood of My Blood. We had many technical difficulties. It seems to be happening a lot more often. And getting ready to dump Google Hangouts.
Can I share one that I'm just now discovering? All we have is the SpecVic Media logo. We don't have your sexy face.
There we go.
There you are, my baby.
You have a lower third now.
Yeah, so lower third works. Overlay doesn't work. Here's how desperate I was and why we're now on at 8:51 p.m. I am running Internet Explorer.
Jesus, y'all. I almost threw holy water on him when I walked in and saw that.
It's bad, and the image is all flickery and but it sounds great to me at least. So that's something. I guess.
We've lost the echo and the Cylon and all the other fun that we've had. But I'd like to give Google Hangouts a big shame bell. Screw you guys. We're finding somewhere else to do this. Every week this season.
It's just been getting worse and worse. They must have abandoned it. Anyways, but we have not abandoned you. We have not abandoned Game of Thrones.
No.
We have survived Balticon 50, which was pretty epic.
Epic.
Very, very epic. I mean, we've been talking about it for weeks leading up. George R. R. Martin was there. He did do a reading from Winds of Winter that I missed. But that's good because I want to stay unspoiled, right? So.
Right.
Did anybody catch it?
No, although I have gleaned some of the details just from online accounts. I wasn't there in person.
I purposefully was not there because I don't like to do spoiler chapters. I don't like to get the stuff from the books until I'm actually reading the book. And everybody was putting all of the spoilers in the Balticon hashtag. So if you were following the Balticon hashtag, you were forced to see all of these spoilers. And I tried really hard not to look and trying not to remember. But it did irk me, and I specifically thought, okay, well, once it's been a couple of hours, I can go back to reading it. If you go in the Balticon hashtag thing, they're still retweeting things from that hour now. And basically somebody went point by point by point, and it's spoiler after spoiler after spoiler, and I really don't want to find out on Twitter, of all things. I want it to be in the beautiful prose that you find out.
You want it in Martin's words.
In the right way, yeah.
Yes.
And so I was a bit disappointed. I do remember certain people at the con saying, well, I mean, if you don't want spoilers, you shouldn't be online. I'm like, I'm in the Balticon hashtag of the convention I'm at. I should not have to expect to be spoiled there.
I gotta say, I never, ever, ever, ever follow hashtags for exactly that reason. It's always people trying to show, look, I know more than you. I know more than you. Oh, yeah, well, I know more than you. And so I am never in those conversations, and I feel sorry for you that you saw that. I purposefully went to someone that went to the reading and said, spoil me, tell me everything. Because I didn't read book 5 yet, it really didn't. I really don't know much. Fuck all of what's going on.
No spoilers for me.
My mistake.
Yeah, it's almost everything in it would mean very little to someone only watching the TV show. That's for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. The Balticon hashtag in previous years has been the way that I've met up with other people. Mostly it was a new media thing that people were using, and it was along the lines of, I'm in this panel and someone said this,
right.
And it's usually like awesome quotes, or it's a picture from a panel, or it's, hey, I'm going over to Noodles, who wants to come, kind of a thing. And it was just not that this year.
But we had the added attraction, which brought an unattractive element to Balticon of people that were fans of the show and expected a big Comic-Con or PAX event, and instead they got Balticon, which is a small literary event. George wants to talk about the books. He doesn't want to talk about the TV show.
Yeah.
And I think that people came into it with such insane expectations, especially since it was changing to a new hotel, and we had all these growing pains, and it just was. It was a complex weekend, but I think that the people that go for the reasons like I want more chocolate in the con suite, or the kinds of complaints we were hearing in addition to the programming issues, it's just I'm okay if you never come back again if that's your attitude. Stay away. I'm happy about it. If you've outgrown this con, bye. So that's just my personal opinion. I thought that there was we had some hiccups, and honestly the only time that Chooch and I had a chance to really, at a time when my health was up, see George was like within an hour of leaving our room on the first night. We went down to the bar, and I was just telling our friends, okay, I don't care what's going on. If you have a George sighting, please message me right away, because I really want to give him, our friend and podcasting sugar daddy, the gentleman that started this channel and this show, PG Holyfield. We had a copy of his book, Murder at Avedon Hill, and I really wanted to put that in George's hands instead of sending it off to some agent or something. And we also got him to sign our copy, which I can't find now, of my copy of Dance with Dragons that I got in the mail in 2012 from Amazon, and I made all of you guys sign it, and you were mad at me. We can't sign it. No, what if you meet George? Well, George signed it. So it's okay. You guys signed it first, but he got above the title. But we only had that opportunity because we literally were sitting in the bar with only one other table of people, and he walked by and sat down at that table of other people, and we were like, ugh, and trying to gather up courage when he saw that he let someone approach, and he was laughing and jovial, and he was in for it, and so we kind of just grabbed the books, and Chooch said, be brave, and so we were, and we waited until he signaled us that he was, cool to interact, and we told him about our show, and we told him about PG, and we gave him the book, and we got the signature, and it was a very touching moment, and we didn't get it at any of the book signings, we didn't get it at anything else, and that was literally the only time. I think I only saw him one other time the whole weekend. So, I mean, we were really, really lucky because a lot of people had less favorable. Maybe they didn't get in to get him signed, or maybe they got in line and they weren't able to have the moment with them that they really wanted to share their love with it because things were a little off on programming and other things. And so it just ended up, I think, at some point, and I've had it happen to me with other creators where they're signing things, but they're kind of just out of it because they're just so tired of just signing things and
kind of conveyor belt.
Yeah. And I'm so grateful for the experience that we have. I don't know if he's ever going to read PG's book or not, but he did say he wished that he could have met him, and that's obviously how PG would have felt too, but he's got the book now, and from what I hear, he reads absolutely everything on the internet, and it's handed to him, so hopefully someday he'll read PG's book too.
That would be cool.
Mission accomplished.
Cool. Yeah.
I got to interact with a lot of the George R. R. Martin cosplayers.
Yeah, there were a ton, weren't there?
Yeah,
and you had your own nice one on the night of our show, Nutty.
The young George?
Yes.
George still as the chess master?
The one you wore to the panel, the one with the fur and the
You mean my cosplay?
Yeah, yours, the one with the new Hodor patch.
Yes, I was a Westerosi punk. So I had like a ripped up Night's Watch cloak with handmade patches pinned in with old style pins, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. I got a lot of people stopping me so that they could read them all.
Yeah.
Read all the patches, but no, I was thinking specifically of the people that were cosplaying as George R. R. Martin.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
There was one in the front row of our panel, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Yep.
I say that's Chessmaster George.
Chessmaster George, gotcha.
Because he looks like he's the age that George was when he was still working as a professional chess master. And then I had the one that is like a dead ringer. He was at one of my panels, and as it turns out, he and his wife were celebrating their 40 years together. They met on the con circuit, and they're going to all the conventions they went to that summer, and Balticon was one of them. And I just thought that was
Very cool.
That is the most sweetest, cutest, nerdiest thing I think I've ever heard.
So I had to share it on the podcast. So if you're listening, George R. R. Martin cosplayer, you and your wife are awesome, and I hope you have had a great 40th anniversary year.
Seconded.
Congrats. Very cool. Let's see. News. I don't think we really had any other news. So we did have a live recording at Balticon, which was amazing. We were in this huge room. It was full, and everybody had a great time. We discussed many what-ifs.
Yeah.
We're amazed at how they dovetail into each other, how one thing, dominoes fall. So, started with the most obvious, what if Ned hadn't died, right? What if he'd gone to the wall? And then that just leads to this and this and that and that. And so I thought it was a blast, a lot of fun.
Have you checked the audio? I was unsure if the crowd participation would be, how well it would be picked up.
I did some quick little spot checks on mine, and it's not great, but it's something that I can work on and post.
Okay, cool.
And I think
it was a lot of fun
too, right?
Yeah, Eric, the guy in charge of tech at Balticon, did a great job, by the way. The tech department did. He said that there are video recordings from the Kent, and he's checking for me to see if they've got video from that night, which means that there'll be audio too, that we can hopefully get more of the crowd interaction from that as well. So I think there's audio and video, but I don't know much more about it than that. So
I would like to go on record and say that I would love to do another What If panel. I think that was so successful, and we barely scratched the surface.
Yeah, literally. I mean, I didn't even ever get to pull out the list that I did like 4 years ago of the What Ifs, but you guys had a lot of them on there already. But like, just so listeners and viewers know, we have already talked about, yes, we're going to continue every season, every week, every year that they do the show, but we also are going to really try this time to do bonus episodes where we do more what if episodes. Or maybe after the election we can tackle the political conversation that Chooch is dying to have with Westeros state politics versus the U.S. politics. Yeah. But let's wait till after the election, okay?
Right. We were talking about possibly doing deep dives into each of the houses. So have a series of episodes, and each episode is dedicated to one house.
Yes.
Maybe, kind of thing. And then you guys have talked about doing the super spoiler episode that
I have begged Christiana and Nutty to spoil me on book 5 like since a year ago, and I kind of feel like let's just do it online because I haven't made time any other way. We're all so busy otherwise. Let's just turn that into an episode where you totally spoil me on book 5, and that'll be our first spoiler episode.
Beyond the Wall, spoiling Viv.
Spoiling? Oh my God. Yeah, right. I don't get that enough. But if you have ideas for other kinds of conversations like that, just send us a message. That also will get you an entry in our contest. But we love getting ideas, and we can't think of them all, so.
Yeah. Yep. Or even just, the nature of what ifs is that there's so much imagination involved, so there might, even if we discuss a particular one, there might be all sorts of implications that we forget to consider.
True.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, we ran into that during the panel. It was like the snowball effect is just tremendous when you get to a certain point. It's really fun.
So we'll probably clean that up and release it this weekend or next week or sometime. We're still Balticon recovering, but we will get that in the feed. We hopefully people saw that we dropped the George R. R. Martin interview in the feed from Mysticon, so we had that for people to enjoy. I thought it was a really cool interview. Rich Sigford is so much fun to hang out with. It's so funny and great interviewer. Such a great interviewer.
Yeah, it's a really fun interview. That's the kind of interview I would have hoped that we could have gotten if he had been doing, interviews at our convention. Really fun.
And speaking of interviews, there was, I think it was from last week, actually. It may have been last Wednesday. So a little dated, but Amelia Clark was on, she was on a couple different shows. One of the shows was Seth Meyers, which we watch now and then, depending on the guest. And I wanted to play a quick audio clip of her. There was a funny section they did talking about the Dothraki language. And he'd asked, well, no. I was going to say, I think it's a clean segment. I don't think I need to really intro it too much. So, Seth Meyers with Amelia Clark.
All right. You got to tell me if it's BS or not. I hear there's a real, there's an actual Dothraki language.
Yeah.
Is it, or are you just making up words as you go?
Well, that's a good question, because it's a language.
Okay.
It's a full language.
Okay.
Like, you can study it.
And when did this language start? Is it with the TV show, or is it
Oh, it's for the TV show.
Okay, gotcha.
David Peterson wrote it for the TV show.
Okay.
So it's won awards and stuff.
That's fantastic.
It's special.
So then, do you learn it? Do you read it in the script? Is it written in?
Well, so you get it in English, and then the top in the first script is like, this will be in Dothraki, and then you get the Dothraki, so you get it in Dothraki, and then you get it in the next translation of it, which is, let's say, I'm going to kill everyone, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Don't say that.
Yeah.
Spoiler. And then it's translated into everyone kill, doth something I am, and then it's in English.
Wow.
And then I get an MP3, and then my kitchen hears it for weeks and weeks and weeks on end until I sound convincing.
And has there ever, they don't yell cut if you get it wrong, right?
They don't know.
Oh.
Everyone's like, can we go back to the bit where you, go from the top? You're like, yeah, no one knows.
So have you ever, in the middle of it, sort of fallen away from the language as written?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
Also,
maybe recently, maybe in this season.
And
I didn't
what did you replace it with? Do you just start mumbling words, or?
Well, now we're kind of in season 6,
Yeah.
and I'm sort of all comfortable
Sure.
on set, and with the latest load of Dothraki, with the latest
That's
one
a load of Dothraki.
with the latest marvelous actors we've had doing Dothraki with us. It was a long day, and I thought it wasn't. It was on his close-up, and we were goofing around.
Right,
I didn't
so you're
realize we were
off camera
filming,
doing your lines.
doing my lines exactly. So I thought it'd be funny if I did bop in Dothraki.
Right.
And that didn't help him.
No, right.
At all.
That probably
At
takes
all.
you out of it a little bit.
A little bit. And then
Yeah.
I think some of that was definitely
Now,
my
what is
take.
bop in Dothraki?
So, bop it, and that fine doing dot it.
I don't think it was
And you and
That's so. I can't stress how much less catchy that is. Yeah, thank you.
So, yeah. That was a fun one.
She was just absolutely adorable.
Indeed.
And it's funny because a part of the interview they were talking about how Khaleesi is always so serious, and she is always so bubbly and vivacious and all that. So it's like kind of a bigger acting stretch, to be Khaleesi and always be so serious and dour. Instead, between scenes, she's immediately blah and laughs and stuff.
Yeah. So where do you want to start this week, my love?
Yeah, I think that's all the news. News and non-news. This episode we're still in turbo mode, but we slowed down from 5 and 6. The roller coaster was flying, and now we're kind of coming, and we're resetting the stage for the end game of the season. It's definitely a little slower. Less happened, but plenty still happened.
Yeah.
I think, was it first up? Bran Beyond the Wall.
Yeah.
With them ruining our beautiful tree.
Our logo.
No, we're not bitter.
That's more money for Natalie.
But we got some exciting stuff from this sequence. In fact, despite in some superficial ways it not seeming like the plot necessarily advances that much, but there's just some big reveals that affect things a lot, and that's not only in, of course, the reveal of Benjen Stark as sort of like a white, but not, and he's good, I think, but also just on the all those little snippets of Green Dream or whatever they are, visions that Bran was having, including visions of the Mad King Aerys saying burn them all on wildfire in King's Landing.
Yes, so much of that.
I bet you, because we just got those teensy snippets, that we actually get like a full-on flashback there at some point.
Yeah.
I hope so.
So we think he was hearing voices, and then it'll reveal whose voices he was hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess presumably is Bran, because the Three-Eyed Raven's gone, or he is the Three-Eyed Raven, because that's what Benjen specifically said. You are him.
Yeah. I also just sort of feel like, would they bother showing that for a split second if that's all it was going to be? I don't know.
Yeah.
So who knows what the plot impact of that will be, but there was just some interesting stuff there. I think we also got a few shots from the Tower of Joy also, but not anything we hadn't really, like, I think everything else was stuff that we are tangentially aware of already. But just still exciting stuff. What's exactly going on there? He says he can't control it, but like in some ways, it almost feels like is he downloading all this information, or is it like flipping through the pages on an encyclopedia, or is he retaining some of that? What's going on? We don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot there. Did anyone slow it down to go like frame by frame? I did not.
I kind of wanted to, but didn't get a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even get to do the second rewatch like I usually like to, but with the Balticon kind of skewered everything around a little bit. So
I'm in agreement with Christiana. I think that we're going to get back to that stuff. I'm very excited about that. This whole segment of the show, I'm like ready to burst. When we first see the mysterious rider, and I'm like, oh, he has a northern accent, and then it's revealed that he's Benjen.
Yeah,
and it's mind-blowing, except it may be another one of these huge divergent changes from the books.
Well, it's weird, and this is exactly the sort of stuff that gets complicated in terms of whether it counts as a spoiler or not, because we kind of literally don't know.
Yeah.
Because this character that is Benjen in the show, Benjen is filling a role of a character that in the book we don't know who he is.
Right.
Okay.
There's a guy who shows up. They call him Cold Hands because, duh. And he's doing, and he does what we see Benjen doing here. And in fact, actually, in the book, he shows up as soon as they're north of the wall, and helps them get to the Three-Eyed Raven. So he's there along with them for much longer in the book. So he's now showing up. But in the book, we don't know who he is, and yet some people had the theory, even still, that it was Benjen.
Until
there was this weird thing where somebody found, they saw a scan of the marked up early draft of or not Game of Thrones, but one of the books where the editor was asking George, "Is this supposed to be Benjen?" And George says no.
Yeah.
So
it's the original pages back and forth that George donated to the Cushing Library. And this person went through and took pictures of all of the notes. And there's a lot of things in there. And there's that one. It's like, is this Benjen? Because if it's Benjen, how come Bran doesn't recognize him? And all of these questions, question. Like the whole margin is filled in with green pencil. And George's response is just a red, no exclamation point. Some people theorize that the no is, no, we're not talking about that again. Whereas other people say, it's just a definitive no.
Yeah.
And then there's also stuff about how Cold Hands, his eyes are black but not the color of Benjen's, and all of this other nonsense. So it could be a huge departure from the books, or it could be book truth, because even though it may not have been Benjen when he was writing it, it could be Benjen now, because a lot of things have changed through the course of writing.
Yeah,
Well,
since
and
they
it-
never named the character, right? Yeah.
And it might be that it's a divergence from the books that's not a big one, because
Right.
who knows, it might actually just not matter very much.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like in terms of who it is. I mean, it's great on the show because, of course, the mystery of what happened to Benjen has been lingering since early season 1.
Yep.
And so to have him show up again, and we were given the various pieces that we want to know, it's like, okay, well, apparently Dragon Glass to the Heart both turns you into a White Walker and turns you not into a White Walker. But, okay.
Yeah,
Right.
well, and that's the other thing. It gives
And
us so
kills
much
you.
more information.
It's the
Yeah,
thought that counts.
It's the aloha of weapons.
But before he shows up, though, I was so with Mira in that moment of just this idea of she's having so much trouble pulling this thing, and she's doing the best she can, but it's so cold and it's exhausting, and she's scared and she's tired, and they're coming, and she just doesn't know what to do, and just gives all she has, but then it's just like it's not enough. And then, Bran finally wakes up and says, they're coming, or they're here, or whatever, and it's just like, oh, God. And as soon as the writer showed up, I was like, oh, finally. Gold hands!
Gold hands!
But
I immediately thought, oh, finally, Benjen.
yeah. Well, yeah. And so it's
did.
very exciting. The thing is, too, that similar to how Sir Strong is basically, they just say, no, it's the mountain. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, they're only calling him Sir Gregor on the show.
Yeah, so I think it's just a matter of, in a TV show, it's pretty much impossible to have a new character turn out to be an old character and just be able to keep it secret, because people are going to just say, oh, look, if you turn the brightness up on this one frame, you can see under the hood, and it's actually this actor, and blah, blah, blah. So I think they just, unless there's some real reason for it to stay secret, they just say, no, let's just be out front with it. Besides, people would be excited. Hey, look, it's Benjen. And he's not looking great, but better than dead.
So we have a comment in the Q&A. Mike McCauley says he's just happy to see them not show what happened to Hodor, and I will agree to that.
Yeah, there's no need. No one.
It's hard enough as it is.
Well, I also am just steeling myself a little bit for the possibility we'll get white version of Hodor at some point. I kind of hope not, but you can't argue that it's the sort of the thing this show might do.
I know. I didn't.
How do I
even
hit
think of
delete
that.
on here? I need to delete, 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 delete.
But yeah, it was so even though all it really does is just sort of establish the new status quo for Bran and Mira and Benjen now.
Yeah, I think it was really important, and maybe you already said this when I stepped away, but I think it was just really important for Bran to see someone from his damn family.
Mm-hmm.
There's more motivation for you because he was dead and he's still here and he's still your Uncle Benjen, and, it sucks, but it could be worse.
Yeah. It's exciting. We're getting all sorts of family reunions this season. Even some of the ones we weren't necessarily expecting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's true, yeah. That's true. Anything else north of the wall? I don't think so.
No. Mm-mm.
More family reunion, Sam's reunion, when we didn't know why on earth they were going to go to the house, and now apparently we see why.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew his dad was going to be a dick. And it was interesting to me, that dinner conversation, how he totally just looked like a little kid. Sam did, once his dad started laying on him. And then afterwards, he's like, hey, I was afraid he wasn't going to let you stay. I couldn't stand up for you.
Yeah. I have I have mixed feelings about this whole sequence because on the one hand, like everything about that dinner is kind of obvious, you know what I mean? Based on what we've already heard about Sam's family, like there's nothing really surprising in that whole conversation. They kind of set us up for, better not tell him you're a wildling, cut to, oh, by the way, north of the wall. And I don't want to harp on that, but the point is, like like everything in Horn Hill was calculated basically just to build Sam to this sort of hero moment, right? Where he decides to take what is his, so to speak, I guess. And so I think it's effective for that, but for me, it's still feels a little crooked just because, like, what is his plan here?
Yeah.
He still can't take her to the Citadel, and now his dad's probably going to come after him for the sword. So what is the plan here? That's where I'm frustrated. It's one thing to want to stand up to your family, but I want a better sense that he has some idea of what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Guess is he will hole her up somewhere in Old Town, because that's what the Citadel's at, right? So that's the city.
I guess, I mean, his hesitation before, when that's what she said she wanted, was, by yourself with no money, and, maybe he just concluded that would be better.
Yeah, but now his dad's like, fine, she'll work in the kitchens and we'll raise the bastard and you're never going to be in this house again.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I can see why he's like, we have to be together, just because who knows what his dad will do after that. Like, that's what he says now. But,
Right.
Yeah.
And with the sword, I don't know. I don't know that I'm convinced Dad will come after him, because he seems so concerned about how other people think of the family and think of him.
Right.
I don't know if I want anybody to know that Sam took it.
Right.
Well, the whole thing with the sword, and we have a Jennifer in the chat is talking about how she thought it was out of character for Sam to take the sword, and what does he want to do with it. But to me, the reason for the sword has nothing to do with the home or the house name. John actually sent letters. He wants all of the Valerian steel to fight the White Walkers, because we know that Valerian steel can win against them, and it's not as fragile as dragon glass. And that's something that we talked about last season, but they haven't really brought up. But that to me was like, Sam's like, you know what? We need that in the fight against the wall. They don't even believe that there's White Walkers. They're not going to surrender it. I'm just going to take it.
Yeah, they're going to let it sit on that wall and help nobody out of pride, instead of giving it to Sam, who knows its value. And you know what? This is the only thing that he's taking. He's not taking gold. He's not taking gems. He's taking something that will defend Gilly and little Sam. And fuck yeah, I was cheering. It was tropey. It was expected. It was syrupy. But god damn it, I loved it. It's been a while since we've had that, Sam.
And his dad will take it as, you took the one thing that meant anything to the family.
Yeah.
You know, he'll take it as the biggest insult, when it's the most practical thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, like, I definitely didn't hate the moment. It's nice seeing Sam, demonstrate once again for us that no matter how he sometimes thinks of himself, he is not craven at all. No. But at the same time, like I said, it's such a break from Plan A that it just makes me want to know that he has some vague clue as to what happens next, rather than just saying, okay, we're just going to ride off in the middle of the night with something that my father values above anything else, with nowhere to go. I can't take her to where I was going to go. What's the plan, Sam? So I don't hate it. I just want to know what the plan is, because right now it feels kind of just crazy by the seat of his pants, and I'm not sure I can fully get behind that.
Yeah.
So
and to me,
that part I agree on. I would be shocked if he didn't have a plan. I guess in the back of my mind, I'm kind of counting on that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm being too trusting.
So in the books, like, the plan is never that Sam's going to go to Horn Hill.
We're not going to spoil the books, are we?
No, it's not. It's just He's not there. He's still on a boat. It's okay.
For the viewers, this is a new, for anyone that wasn't at Balticon, this is a new addition. We got a shame bell, which I suggested we rename the spoiler bell, but they like the name shame bell.
The shame bell.
So when we get close, it's going to be a little... and Chooch also has the right to do that. If it doesn't sound familiar to him, he's going to say, whoop, stop.
What I had thought was going to happen, or the impression that I got, was that Gilly was going to go to Hornhill and say, oh, by the way, your son sent me. This is his bastard. And that we weren't going to ever see Sam reunite with his family because his father would not want to see him, and his father wasn't even there, but that his mother and his sister would take care of her, and it's lovely. So this, to me, I was like, this is the fan fiction I want. I want to see Sam's mom. I want to see Sam's sister. And look, they're so nice to Gilly. Isn't that sweet? And actually, Dickon is not that much of a dick. He's just, obtuse and focused.
He's the way his dad raised him to be.
Yeah, but I mean, he's not mean about it. It's just
yeah. Well,
much hunting.
Well, Dickon strikes me as someone who, like, he does not hate Sam the way his dad does, but he is sure not going to get in between them.
No.
It's more like, I'm going to treat you nicely, but I'm also not going to defend you from him because that will just make it fall on me. I'm the one that benefited when he sent you away, so I'm not gonna rub that in.
Yep.
I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna let you keep that between you guys, and I'll stay out of it.
One thing that I really liked about, well, it was the scene before this. It was when they were in the carriage heading there to Hornhill. Is that what it's called, Hornhill?
Yep, Hornhill.
And it just took me back to an earlier episode where they were still on the ship. So they start the scene with her and Sam's barfing on the ship, and they show just her face in this tiny little window, and she's got an E.T. look of wonder, like a Steven Spielberg. I see dinosaurs kind of look on her face as she's looking out the porthole on the ship, because she's only ever known Craster's Keep and north of the Wall, and now she's on a boat on the ocean and seeing things she's never seen before. And then in this episode, they did a similar thing where before she and Sam are talking inside the carriage, you have this little glimpse of her just looking out with that same look of wonder at the southern world, that she's never seen before. There's no snow, there's no freezing, there's no incestuous rape. Everything is just it's. I'm really glad that they're taking that little 4 seconds or however long it takes to show that there is still wonders that Gilly recognizes in the world. You can't give up on her just because of what she's been through. She still has so much light in her.
Well, and as Jennifer points out, she not that we doubted, but when she's all gussied up in the dress and the hair and everything, it's like, not bad.
She's so beautiful. She really
so
is.
Lovely.
And if you've ever seen that actress in anything else, it's a wonder that she doesn't outshine everybody else on this cast, because in this show, she's so pretty.
One geography note, Viv, you mentioned southern, so just on the, it's not only southern, like everything is southern to Gilly, who's from north of the Wall, but we should also point out that Hornhill and nearby Old Town are pretty much the most southern cities we've seen, with maybe the exception of Sunspear. I can't remember exactly.
Sunspear's a little
further
south.
But they're close. It's in terms of latitude, they're close.
Yeah. It's pretty far south.
The southern edge of the Westeros continent.
And it looked like they were kind of near Highgarden. I guess that'd be the next closest going back towards King's Landing.
Yeah, I think Highgarden would be kind of northeastish, like in between. The Reach is sort of in between where Old Town is and King's Landing, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have the map.
It's where they're in the perfect farmland and all that, which is where they get so much of their resources from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So
it's right around the corner from High Garden.
yeah, I thought it was interesting that I knew that Horn Hill wasn't going to be a dump, but the way it looked, I mean, it was not small.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bigger than I thought too.
Mm-hmm.
I found it a second ago, but I looked away and I lost it. So here on the southern map, here's Horn Hill,
Mm-hmm.
and High Garden is, oh shoot, I lost it, right above it.
Yeah.
So there's High
Okay.
Garden, and there's
Very
that,
close.
and there's Dorn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Horn Hill is pretty close to Dorn and super south of this.
Yeah. For sure. I actually briefly wondered about and then discarded as unimportant why Sam was still walking around in the exact same clothes that he wore up at Castle Black. It's like, aren't you hot, dude? Come on, you don't have lighter versions of that?
Probably
Is that-
not.
is
I don't
that
think the
a
brothers.
rule? Like,
Well, you don't have to wear the coat. You could have a black shirt.
Yeah, I don't
Maybe
know.
it's a sort of armor for him or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
See, I'm still there to watch. I'm still doing stuff. Bring in my bastard.
Yeah, I don't really care that much, but I did notice and wonder.
seems quite impractical.
Yeah. My last thought on this is not even really a full thing because I'll get more into it later. But the fact that he made this big decision without apparently having any kind of a plan, maybe he does have a plan and they just didn't tell us, kind of dovetails into a complaint I had about the King's Landing Section 2 and sort of a general frustration with this episode that it feels like and probably could be considered part one of a two-parter because it's actually written and directed by the same guy who did the next one. And so I think that there are a lot of things about this one that are really designed explicitly to be a setup for what's going to happen in the next episode.
Interesting.
But it left me
Straight to
frustrated.
King's Landing?
Sure.
Yeah, we can jump straight to King's Landing.
Yeah.
I can't remember where it opened. I mean, the biggie is Tom and Marjorie talking.
Yeah, it's Tommen, I think, going to see Marjorie is
Right.
After talking to the High Sparrow, yeah.
Yeah.
It's Marjorie and the High Sparrow, and then he lets in Tommen.
Yeah. So here's my frustration. I believe that Tommen could be talked into anything at this point, and it just drives home my point that it's insane that Cersei and probably Kevin too, although it's what Kevin wants at this point is who could say, but why anyone let Tommen go talk to the High Sparrow by himself. Now, if he's determined, I suppose they can't technically stop him, but he had also said earlier this season he was prepared to listen to Cersei tell him what to do. So what's going on there? But where I'm frustrated is when we last saw Marjorie, it sounded like this was all a play. You know what I mean? It's like she's telling him what he wants to hear. She's planning to try to, convince Loras to stay strong. She's saying the words with the hopes that it will get her something. But in this one, it starts to feel like either it's not an act anymore and she really believes it, which makes our last scenes with her seem confusing.
Right.
Like, when did she become a convert? We didn't see that process. Or it makes, like, if it's still an act, then she's giving away a lot of stuff here, and it's not clear that it's like, what's the plan? What's the plan, Marjorie? And I hope that it turns out she has some secret plan, or if only that she didn't know what Cersei and Olenna and all were planning, and so she was basically saying, look, I was there in the dark, I had to do something, this gets me out, without having to do the March of Atonement. And so even if that's all it is, I want to know that, because this portrayal like she really is converted really rubs me the wrong way. I'm very agitated that because it doesn't match what we've seen previously from her, and there's no explanation.
I kind of feel like that was almost the theme of this episode, because we saw that with a little bit with Brandon Mira. We saw a little bit of that with Sam and Gilly. It's like, what the blood of my blood? We're dealing with family lines and other oaths and things like that, but they're leaving us really cliffhangering us on motivations. So I agree with you.
So I think that Marjorie is a really good actress. I think that she's selling it very well. But the scene that made me think that she is not faking it is when the High Garden Army shows up and the looks on her face like, oh my God, they're here for me.
I don't have to do this. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's too late. And I think that she was playing it to get her and her brother out.
Yeah.
And this is all like a surprise to her.
I had the same kind of question you guys did. Is this part of her game, or is she maybe this has just seeing, her crumbling and Cersei rubbing her face in it on her visit before she got locked up, and then seeing her brother so broken, if maybe this hasn't, again, who knows, haven't been told yet, stripped away all of the things that the game has turned her into, all the manipulation and the acting, and she admitted that I did all these kind of things, but it was in front of other people. I never did it for what they really wanted. I did it for show. And that was a huge admission, like you said, and that lends to her genuine conversion, I guess. It's weird.
Yeah, because she does and says things that don't make sense to me unless it's genuine and she's a real convert. But if that's true, then it just makes me wonder what was the point of the scenes earlier this season that made it look like she was just going along to get better treatment, hoping to get out, hoping to help Loras. Because she actually says in this one that, her plan does not get Loras out.
Yep. And
she even says he'll have to atone. So if this is all a plan, what's her plan for Loras? Because that seemed to be what was motivating her before.
Yeah.
And so it's I'm very frustrated. Now I feel like I'm feeling honestly a little bit manipulated, because I'm pretty sure that this feeling of frustration and uncertainty is what they intended us to feel. They're deliberately showing us something that's different than what we expected to see happen, and they're denying us the resolution of it because they want us, invested, right? That's part of the storytelling that they're doing, or at least I hope that it is, because that would mean that resolution is going to be forthcoming. If I will tell you guys right now, if it turns out that the actual answer is no, she just really became a real convert and we just didn't get to see the process, I'm going to be very unhappy with that.
Yep.
Not because I even disagree necessarily with that being a story path for them to take, but because they didn't earn it in the show. They didn't show it happening. And so
that would have been a big, powerful scene. I'm totally in agreement with you.
So I'm hoping.
I think it's all going to come down to the Queen of Thorns and kind of like the wedding, Joffrey's wedding. She works on the sidelines. She works in the background. So we've had a scene of her talking to the High Sparrow that didn't go that great. But when they're in and I don't remember now if that was before or after, when they were in the small council saying Marjorie's going to do the walk, and her saying it will not happen. It cannot happen. It will not happen.
Sorry, go ahead.
Her making that definitive statement to me means anything that they necessarily show her doing in public could be a red herring. She just has other fingers doing other things.
To me, the biggest clue that she is not a real convert is that we know she knows about Olenna and Littlefinger poisoning Joffrey.
Oh, right, she does.
So if she was really a full convert prepared to tell him the High Sparrow everything, she presumably would have told him that. And that is something that the Sparrow could really have power with. And it's possible that the answer will be she did, and he's holding that close to his vest, prepared to play it when the time comes. But that didn't come up at all, and that seems like that would be the signal to me that it's real if she said anything about that, because there's no way she would ever admit to anything like that unless it was 100% genuine. And it could even be that, somewhere in the middle, like she's a little bit converted, but holding that close.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't buy a conversion at all.
Yeah.
So,
just yeah, where they take it.
What does everyone think about Jamie no longer being Kingsguard?
I don't want Viv to ring her bell.
Then there's your answer. If you think I'm going to ring it, don't say it.
So, without saying anything else about it,
Christiana.
this ties into something else that happened earlier this season that suggests that Jamie will be returning to the storyline from the books that we thought was long since abandoned.
Mm.
So
Yes.
him going to River Run
Yeah.
happened in the books.
Yes.
So that, without saying anything else about it, that's what was fascinating about that decision, and one of the things that I honestly thought I was most excited by in terms of all of this, just because there's a lot of story stuff that
Yeah.
could probably mean. So don't ring a bell, but I'm just saying.
No, I'm just thinking of
Yeah.
the things that it leads to.
Book stuff
Well-
aside,
No, what it leads to, it
there's
leads
someone else coming
Braun,
there.
more Braun screen time.
Yeah.
Yes, more bronze screen time, which is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
There's also somebody else going to River Run right now.
Mm-hmm.
Brienne is being sent to River Run.
Yeah.
We might be
Yeah.
able to play the Reunited song again.
Yeah.
Well, they might
don't-
not feel so good for them
No.
though, because
Yeah.
think about where
Let's just-
they're going
oh.
to River Run with opposite cross purposes.
We're
Yeah,
circling.
yeah.
We're circling.
All right. Okay. So in any
We have-
case,
We
having-
can talk so much about it when it happens because I really think it's coming at this point.
oh no, totally. But so in any case though, having Jamie fired could be another clue towards this being a Marjorie machination, because she may be thinking, well, this will be a way of, like, if I'm pretty confident that the Lannisters all have dirty secrets and the Tyrells by comparison are cleaner, then maybe we can put up with this alliance with the Sparrows if it allows us to rid ourselves of the Lannister presence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Get Jamie out of town. Cersei has already got her trial upcoming, and even if she were to win a trial by combat, it's still complicated.
Yep.
And so
I
might be.
thought
I
it
think
was.
Lena struck a deal, and this is a coup attempt. They already have their forces in the city, and now if they're combined with the High Sparrow, with the faith militants, they own King's Landing.
What if this was part of the plan? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what if Olenna doing this? Oh, he's beaten us. What if that's an act? What if this is all a trick to get Cersei to say, yeah, bring all the Tyrell forces into the city?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, go ahead and do that. I'm going to pretend to be upset about it.
Shoot, no, I forgot what I was going to say.
Oh, sorry.
Dang it. No, it's okay. It was about Jamie no longer being part of Kingsguard. Dang it. Keep talking. I'll come back to it.
Okay. Yeah, it was interesting. I thought that the parting of Jamie and Cersei, again, without getting into too much detail about what happens in the books, they do not part in very good terms in the books when he is leaving for River Run. And the timing is different in the books because in the books he is away from King's Landing already when Cersei is going through her whole atonement ordeal. And so when she is in the dungeon, one of the things she does is write to him, but so he is already out of the city because he has gone to Riverrun, and that's because the timelines are different. But the idea that they're still very much in love, which is this weird thing where I think we've I don't know about you guys, but I've sort of been numbed to the idea that it should be taboo that they're brother and sister, and it's more just like nope, they love each other. Isn't that sweet? It's romantic.
Right.
But the idea that they're making out and saying you're gonna go show our men that you can be the head of the army, and this will all be a good thing, you'll see, and that sort of parting was not how they left things in the books in this equivalent section.
So I remembered my thought. I really enjoyed how Jaime again tempted someone to punish him. Because much like he did with the High Sparrow, it's like you bring Marjorie in here, you bring Cersei in here. What about me? I killed my king. There's many things that people can accuse me of, and I am a great sinner. Where's my punishment? And he says the same thing to Tommen. You don't want me here because you say I'm a sinner, so what now? Shall I do a walk of shame? Shall I do a walk of atonement? And again, they just gloss over it. They don't even address it. And it's more along the lines of that, oh, we'll punish anyone, but really we're very particular in who we are punishing. And I think that's kind of interesting. And I do want to address, Jennifer asks, I thought people can't get kicked out of the King's Guard. Joffrey set the precedent when he got rid of Sir Barristan the Bold.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Yes. Pour one out for Sir Barristan. Where is it? There was another comment, and it seems to have disappeared. But Mike Macaulay had something else where he thought that Tommen and Marjorie were definitely plotting something, and maybe mothers are involved somewhere.
I don't know. I think Tommen is doing whatever Marjorie says. And I don't think he understands any. I mean, it was so clear.
Agreed.
Well, what do I do then? It was like when he was with Cersei, he would do whatever she wanted. But now that his young lover is close at hand again, that's who he's going to choose.
Yeah.
I mean, he's I can't remember the age check that we last did on him, but he's like basically a 15-year-old king with a boner with a hot wife. Yeah.
But a good heart, and I think that is
heart.
allowing various people to manipulate him just on, it's like it's a common thing to discuss in Survivor that there are certain kinds of players of like, well, who did they side with? It depends on who talks to them last.
Exactly.
I think Tommen's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Which is why Tommen needs to have somebody there in his ear 24/7.
Well, this is another thing that the show has glossed over to my frustration, which is that Kevin has just been like a non-entity this season, and that's a problem because he's supposed to be the king's hand, and there's all these things that the king is doing, policy questions, that he's just seems like he has no opinion on.
Well, but it looked like Tommen was like kind of keeping an eye on him when he was talking to Jaime, like, I'm still doing this, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I mean it. You're out. She's gone.
Well,
maybe I read too much into it, but it seemed like Kevin was kind of instructing him from the side.
But Kevin had said earlier that he wasn't happy about Lancel being part of the Sparrows.
Yeah.
Right.
So it doesn't seem like he would take their side.
Right.
Well, there's a reason that Tywin sent Tyrion and not Kevin to fill in for him.
It's also true that Kevin wanted to separate Jaime and Cersei since a long time back. So.
Yep.
So even if he's not on the Sparrows side, he might still be willing to say, let's get Jaime out of here. He's going to wreck stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
No
Yep.
doubt
Yep.
about it.
Yeah. So I'm out for King's Landing.
Me
Yeah,
too.
let's check in with Arya.
Mm.
House of Black and White. Things get a little more twisted.
Yes. I'm going to just go ahead and go on the record of saying that I think there is stuff happening in the last couple of episodes that just feels like it's directly in conflict with stuff that happened in previous episodes. You know, we kind of talked about that with Marjorie, and now, like, we got to the point where they had this whole sort of thing where at least it's presented as this mystic ceremony of, Arya, drink this water. You will die unless you are truly no one. And she drinks it, and her eyes come back, which is meant, I think, intentionally to suggest not only is she truly no one, but this is like point of no return for her. And then the next episode, nope, she's fine. In fact, she's more like Arya than ever. And now she's fully broken from that. And I read a recap that I couldn't help but agree with. Now, let me first make it totally clear. I'm super happy that she is Arya. I don't want her I don't want her to be no one. I don't want her to be this faceless man.
A girl.
But that said, if she's leaving now, like, what was the point of all this time that she spent there?
Yeah.
I think the point of her being there and leaving now is, and again, I agree. Like, I think that it's probably very rushed what's happening here, but I think the reason why she's leaving now is she has learned the skills that she needs to learn for whatever it is she's supposed to do in the future, and that's why he's sending the waif after her to kill her, because no one can leave the House of the Undying with that information.
The House of Black and White.
Sorry, Black and White. Undying's a whole different thing. My bad.
That was the Warlocks in Karth, just in case anybody doesn't recall.
Thank you, Christiana.
That's all right. I just want you'd get yelled at otherwise, right?
I would totally get yelled at. They'd go, "Oh my God, she knows nothing. Why is she even on a podcast?"
But it could also just be a character thing, right? You know, it's like, regardless of what skills she has learned, what she has done is pass through her nihilism stage and say, no, I flirted with being just this cynical, nihilistic, I don't care about anything, I'm just a killer phase, but then as she plumbed the depths of that, she realized that's not what she wants. And when feeling the emotions of that she felt, like the emotions that this play brought out in her, that just kind of made her say, I thought that I was numb, but now I can see that I'm not. And I have a direct example of that's what numb is, and I'm not that. Yeah. And so now she is ready to be herself again.
Yeah, like they pushed her to a point that she just couldn't cross. Yeah. So Viv, you had a question.
Maybe.
I'm not sure if she can actually talk. If not, I'll bring it up for her. Okay, she's not coming back. So.
Yeah.
Viv wants to know: does Arya feel sympathy for Cersei now because of the actress, or is she simply being compelled by the acting? So it's, does she feel sympathy because of the actress? Does she feel sympathy because she likes the actress? Does she feel sympathy because the actress is that good at acting? Or, and the third option I'm adding this on, is she able, because of the actress, to see things from Cersei's point of view?
I think that it's not so much sympathy for Cersei. It's as in, like, oh, maybe Cersei's not so bad after all. It's more a matter of being able to relate to the emptiness and anger you would feel having something dear stolen from you, and recognizing that even if she still hates Cersei, recognizing that the pure poetic sadness that the actress was depicting doesn't ring true. It's like, I know, having gone through losing family right in front of you, that's not what it feels like.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that's what Cersei would have felt when Joffrey died.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a little bit of the, you know, we're not so different, you and I, that sort of tropey thing. But like, I don't know that it necessarily means that she feels like sympathy or even pity for Cersei as much as she feels like she understands Cersei better.
Like she can have empathy for this moment of Cersei, but still hate her.
Well, and then I like I was saying earlier, I think there's an element where it's not even just about Cersei or the actress specifically as much as recognizing I'm supposed to have been no one, someone with no emotions, no identity, but then I go and I watch this dumb play about dumbified versions of real history that involves my family, and I still feel it.
Yeah.
I smile when Joffrey's being dumb. I'm mad when they show Ned being dumb.
Yep.
I worried when they show my sister having to marry Tyrion. And when I see Joffrey die, I'm glad he's dead, but then I see Cersei, and I can recognize something about this emotion isn't right either. And it's just sort of a reckoning. It's a reckoning that, like, Arya is not dead inside. No matter how much she kind of tried to be for a while, it didn't take. And it's more just like, and that's exactly why this was given to her as a test, right? That's
Right,
exactly what they were
exactly.
testing for. And so in that sense, she explicitly and definitively failed the test that they set for her.
This was her final test, yep.
Yeah. So Mike McCauley says that he thinks that it was Arya's plan from the start to get the training that she needed, and that never intended to be the girl with no name. And once she went back to get Needle, he cheered and felt that helped that theory. I'm not sure I think that that was her original plan, but I think for a while she wanted to be no one. You know, that as Christiana was talking about, there's a bit of that nihilist in her. And I mean, you go through so much pain, you kind of want to be dead inside. You want to be able to experience no feeling, and I can totally understand that, but I don't think that she ever got to a point where she was able to stop feeling. And Mike, I was also gonna. His comment is much like what I have in my notes, liking the part where Arya giggled in the crowd. It's really neat because if you watch her, Arya is giggling at Joff in pain, and everybody else is not laughing. Like, that's not funny to anybody else. And then when Cersei is pouring out her heart in the play, is pouring out her heart and going through so much emotion, everybody else is laughing, and Arya stops laughing. And she suddenly looks, and, you know, as we said, she can feel empathetic for that moment and know what it's like to lose a family member, and know that it's not, you know, it's not something, it's not laughing.
Yeah. So what do you think, Chooch, as far as what was Arya's plan here? Like, from when she came to the House of Black and White, do you think that she was just trying to get training so that she could go back and finish killing her list?
That was my initial thought, was, yeah, she was going for that training, and she didn't quite know what was going to be involved. I think she fell into the darkness and despair. It was pretty natural that what she had gone through. It's pretty natural with teenagers anyways, you know. She just ended up going emo and not full goth.
Yeah.
And I don't like so many things in the last few episodes, and in this episode specifically, I don't necessarily see the logic or see why the decision was made. I am definitely happy about it, for sure. I did not want her to become a girl. And I didn't want to lose Arya. And yeah, seeing her with Needle was just amazing.
Yeah.
Very cool. It's like there's a confirmation. She didn't throw it in the water. She's, you know,
yes,
good to go. Where she's going to go from here.
Well, I see. Here's a question. She clearly doesn't run. She goes back to her little hovel, wherever that is, whether it's in the House of Black and White or somewhere else. It's not 100% clear. But she clearly goes back to her bed knowing they're going to come for her. That's why she gets the sword. That's why she lies down with it and kind of hides it next to her. I think she knows that the waif is going to come for her. And she doesn't run. Because what Jaqen said to her when he gave her this mission is basically, you need to do it because the many-faced God is expecting a death, and implying that if it's not this actress, it'll be you. But does it have to be?
Right. One way or another, her face is going on the wall. But I mean, you know, she's gotten called out before for killing the wrong person or not killing the right person, or, you know.
I have always felt that as long as Arya had Needle, she was not no one. Yes, double negative, that works. That having Needle meant she was still Arya, and so the fact that she still has Needle just kind of solidifies that. I think that she wanted to be no one for a while, but I don't think she ever was able to give up Needle, which is her. It's her revenge, really. Like, Needle to me is a symbol of her revenge, because without Needle, there's, you know.
Well,
it's her tie to John and tie to...
It's her family and all of that.
I got the impression that when, you know, at the end of season 4, she got on the boat to go to Bravos, that felt to me like Arya saying, I'm leaving all this behind and I'm not coming back. And so I don't think that she had in mind this plan to go get training and to become a badass so that she could come back and finish her list. But at the same time, obviously, when, you know, Maren Trant showed up, that was too great a temptation. And then she's just she's finding, as much as she kind of wanted to leave everything behind, she ultimately can't. And I think this was the episode where she reached that conclusion definitively of, like, I'm going to stop trying to pretend that I can stop being who I am, and I'm going to be that again. Although, again, like I said, getting Needle is one thing, but she doesn't run. So she like, you know, I think I said a couple of episodes ago, I always assumed she was going to have to fight her way out of the House of Black and White. So
assuming she fights her way out, and this is all speculation because there's nothing in the books, where do each of you want Arya to go?
Honestly, I don't care about her finishing her previous list. That's kind of, I want her to go meet up with Sansa and Jon if that's an option.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like the story is not going to give her a direct path. But honestly, I would rather see her reunite with them than be able to complete the list she had before. Because I feel like she's still Arya Stark, but Arya Stark is a different person than that girl who got on the boat to Bravos.
Agreed.
And so I feel like the list was sort of a way to try to give herself direction when it felt like she had nothing. And I think that what she's recognized now is that just recognizing who she is something. And she needs to do that. You know, she spent so much time having to pretend she wasn't who she was. And every time she tried to get close to being Arya Stark again, people she loved were taken away from her. And so it's no wonder that she would have felt like, no, I just need to leave all of that alone. But now, I think it's more a matter of like, I cannot fight my destiny.
Yeah, I could see her skulking around King's Landing and in other parts of Westeros. You know, she's learned all these skills to be able to really blend into the background, even without pieces. You know, she's learned some acting. She's learned how to beg. She's learned how to kind of make it on her own. And so I think she'll go and do a bunch of information gathering in Westeros and then figure out where to go from there. Presumably, she would want to get reunited with her family. And that's certainly what I want to see. I want to see her with Brienne again, and see with John and Sansa and everybody.
I'm going to agree that I also don't want her to go back to the list. I actually didn't even think about that as an option because I kind of feel the same way. I think she's moved on from her list. It's no longer that important to her. But this is my fangirl. I want her to hook up with Dany. I want Arya to get out there and be with Dany somehow and fulfill something in this whole side quest going on, or something that could tie other things together. I feel in my heart of hearts, story-wise, that Arya's journey is not, it always feels very separate from everything else, even though it intertwines with certain things. I don't think that it's a frivolous side quest. I believe that it will come back and be part of the bigger story.
She has to go east to go west?
Something like that, yes. She has to go east to go west.
One just other brief fun idea I had is that it's sort of related to that is that could be fun to have her see her meet up with Tyrion and Varys too.
Absolutely. Mike Macaulay says, who is she closest to geographically?
Bravos is. I was just trying to pull up a map of Essos. Trying to pull up a map of Essos big enough to actually read.
Yeah, I think it's probably easiest to get back to Westeros.
Yeah, because it's just across the narrow sea from Bravos, whereas Essos is really big. So.
And Marine's all the way on the other side of Slaver's Bay.
Yeah, so she's pretty far away from Marine.
But they don't really care about that in the show.
That's true.
Yeah. But it's also true, Dany seems to be planning to, well, we'll get there, but she seems to be, maybe they can meet up in the middle somewhere.
Maybe.
Yeah, and at first, I figured somebody from the Iron Isles would be going to Bravos because they need money to build ships or do whatever they're going to do, but it doesn't seem like they're going to go that way.
It's a theory.
But I don't know that she would necessarily recognize anybody other than Theon, why she wouldn't recognize Euron.
She probably just stabbed Theon, thinking that he killed her brothers.
Yeah. Well, we do remember that the last we saw Theon and Yara, they were running away together with all the best ships. Where are they going?
And is it just me, or does the waif look a lot like Yara?
Some similarities.
I don't see it.
Okay, it's just me.
But yes,
finished Bravos pretty well.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm a little scared that we could end up with a showdown. Like she kills the waif and then runs off for the night or something, and then we don't see her till the next season or something. I'm a little scared that'll happen. That she'll just kind of disappear for a while, and then she'll be some Deus Ex Machina later down the road. But I don't think they will.
Yeah, I think Arya is one of the more popular characters, so I feel like they wouldn't just drop her. But hard to know, though, exactly what's going to happen. But we'll
Yeah.
Excited to see.
Flip to a very unpopular character.
Yes.
Phrase. Walter
Oh,
phrase
right, yeah.
specifically.
Almost forgot we had that little interlude there.
Well, I have just a couple of notes there. I do love his whole speech. He felt a little more Lord Frey here than ever before, but he was still like, I'm sorry. One of my problems is Lord Frey, he's gross. He's not dirty. There's a difference. But I love the whole, you don't lose a castle. You lost a man. You don't lose a castle to disappear, you know. But throughout the entire scene, was very focused on his young wife and the uncomfortableness there, and I just really want his wife to kill him. I want that to be she kills him in his sleep, she takes advantage, and maybe it has to do with some subversive plot, but I want his wife to just be able to kill him because he clearly makes her very uncomfortable. She flinches at his every touch. He is not nice or kind to her, and he smacks her bottom and pulls her around, and it's very uncomfortable, so I really want her to be able to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. Which I'm sure has been true of pretty much every one of his wives down the line. You know, I don't think he's necessarily become this way. I think he's always been this way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was kind of on the side of the hapless Frey nephews on there just because it's kind of like he's going on about you don't lose a castle, and I'm like, dude, you know what we mean. Come on, man. You're splitting hairs about wording. Like,
don't focus on semantics here, buddy.
Yeah, it's just because you can say take it back. It's like, yeah, except how?
Right.
We came to you to let you know because we needed help, and you're basically saying no, do it without my help, and we're like,
There's a reason we phrase don't get involved in wars till we know who's gonna win.
Yeah. Although, I mean, as we saw in King's Landing, it appears that the Lannisters are coming up to help, or at the very least to not let the Blackfish have it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if they, this is not this is not a spoiler to resolve what happens at River Run because we don't actually know. This is an example of a thing that we can't spoil the final outcome.
Mm-hmm.
For the listeners at home, I'm sorry, but Viv just ran in with the bell to hand it to Chooch.
Yeah.
It was just a coincidence.
So this is what I just mean to say is that this is not spoiler. This is just sort of speculation based on what's been presented, which is to say, even if the Lannisters show up with Jaime and take back River Run, it's not clear that they just hand it back to the Freys who lost it in the first place. They would
Exactly.
Might be a little bit more along the lines of, yeah, we know you made a deal, but that was for giving it to you the first time.
Yeah.
Since we just had to capture it back, it's ours now.
Yeah. I wouldn't give it back to the Freys.
Yeah, they're not good stewards, clearly.
And what can they actually offer me at this point? They can't keep a castle, and giving them River Run is not going to make them, they're not able to switch sides at this point. They really can't switch sides to be with another force at this point. So you don't lose anything. You no longer have to play the diplomat. They're stuck with your side, so you don't have to be nice.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Nobody else is even willing to, can't stand them.
Yeah.
It'll be
already
very
betrayed the other side.
If Brienne shows up around the same time Jaime does, and
that's
like you were saying, and just like
it's
just which way do they go? I don't.
Well, right, because they are explicitly at cross purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Jaime is ordered to use the Lannister army to take back the castle from the Blackfish. Brienne is supposed to, take the Blackfish's men, having seized River Run, and use them to go fight the Boltons. So those two things cannot. Well, I suppose the Blackfish and his men could leave River Run, go fight the Boltons, while Jamie takes River Run. That could work. Win-win.
Oh boy.
Win-win-ish.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else for.
Yeah, that's about it.
Honestly,
Yeah, it's pretty brief.
So Danny is who we've got left, right? I don't have a lot for that either. Yes, she gives an awesome speech on a dragon, and it's great, but like that's really all that happens, other than the implication that she's done dicking around in Slaver's Bay and she's going to go to Westeros now, which is great.
Yeah. Do you want to know what my notes say? My note says Dragon Riders. That's it. It was a neat scene. It was funny. Dario's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go find her." You dum-dum, she told you to wait. And then she shows up on this dragon. I love dragon scenes, so we know this. But especially I loved the shadow of the dragon over the horde. I thought that was very neat.
It seemed like he had really grown again, like,
Yes.
being outside and ranging, that he had significantly gotten, or noticeably gotten bigger even.
Yeah.
I think he will be much bigger than his brothers.
Agreed. I think it also, just to revisit a question that we had a few episodes ago that was left somewhat ambiguous, I think it's obvious that the other two dragons perhaps were unchained, but not free from that cave or dungeon or whatever there was.
I feel like we didn't see them by now if they had been free.
Yeah, there would have been. We've had plenty of other Tyrion and Varys scenes that they would have had to address where they were if it wasn't still in the cave.
Get a report of them rampage in the countryside or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also
Or
thought...
if they would also notice if they just plain disappeared, right? If they were heading towards her, they wouldn't know that's where they were going. They would just know they disappeared.
And we'd have reports of them, like, eating local lamb or burning things or whatever.
Sure.
There'd be something.
Yeah.
I did think when the Dothraki horde was in that, valley, I was like, wow, this is a perfect ambush spot, but luckily that's not what happened.
I was thinking it was a perfect spot to only have to show a few guys without it.
That's what I think the reason was. But it was good. It was good. It's Danny's good at the grand gestures.
Oh yeah. No, I did not mean to diminish the fact that the speech and the dragon and all that was awesome. It's just that other than the revelation, Danny Drogon reunited, yay. Apparent plan to go back to Westeros, double yay. That's it, really.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Right.
you have more notes than I did, so.
Yeah. There was some feedback we got from Sheriff Bullock in email form.
Yeah.
A little bit later, I'll read his first paragraph, and I did skip a couple of things because he pretty much reiterated. He felt very similar to how we did about things. So, so I suppose Dany flying down on Drogon and rallying her horde to go to Westeros was supposed to be an amazing moment, but it felt like a retread of all the other times she does exactly this, like a mere 2 weeks ago when she stepped out of a flaming building and unburned. I was also distracted by the CGI, and I couldn't decide if it looked good or not. I thought it looked great. I didn't see any weirdness, but yeah, it did seem like as a grand gesture, it was definitely underplayed or underwhelming because she's done so many amazing things recently.
Yeah.
Although, as Jennifer says, everything said is better when said sitting on a dragon.
Agreed.
Cannot argue with that.
Yeah.
Very true. There's one other thing. I hear this term, I did know. I'm hearing it more and more frequently. And I don't believe there's anything with that phrase in the show, but Nutty had just said something Dragon Riders.
Oh.
And I keep hearing somebody say, oh, so are they the other head of the dragon?
Well,
there's no showing that has said anything like that, right?
You are correct. Nutty, do you want to cover this?
So
it's becoming so common that it seems like.
Yeah, it's a book theory.
So whenever you've got dragons, especially because of the Dragon Riders of Pern series, people automatically think there's going to be dragon riders. Who's going to ride the dragon? In the books and a little bit in the show, they talk about how I can't even remember. I'm going to get the names wrong, but the old Targaryens came from Valyria with dragons and conquered Westeros, and it was some dude that starts with a V, and two of his sisters, one of which being Nymeria, which is who the dire wolf is named for, and who one of the sand snakes is named for. And so we know that there have been dragon riders in the past, and that is the reason why the Targaryen shield is a three-headed dragon. So there's speculation that there will be three riders, three heads of the dragon. There's a lot more like Dany internal thinking about this in the book, but
it was part of one of the prophecies she
it's
received
part of the one of the prophecies.
But
I'm trying to be spoiler free.
Sure. Well, but like
it's
so
pretty logical.
Yeah. But also, I mean, I think just the way you can get there just from the show too is just the idea of, riding a dragon is a thing. Guess what? There's three of them. Who's going to ride the other two?
Yeah. And that's the other thing.
It's not necessarily.
And seeing as they're so small, Tyrion could probably,
Who else is
They seem to like him okay. He took their chains off.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Who else is small?
Man, I just got goosebumps thinking about that Tyrion dragon scene again because that was just so amazing where he's talking to them and giving that whole speech, takes the chain off of the other one, and then the second one is looking at him, he's like, uh-oh, and then it just tilts its head so he can reach the chain. It's like, they are acknowledged.
That was so great.
Yeah.
Just
So,
yeah.
It was great, absolutely. But, yeah. Reminiscing about another episode may mean we're done with this one.
Yeah, I think though that all of the, if memory serves me correctly, the theories of dragon riders came very, very quickly because, well, it's happened before.
And it would be awesome if it happened. So
it would be awesome, and Dragon Riders of Pern is a thing that's in our collective consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
Some of the best theories are based on what people think would be awesome if it happened.
True.
Cool.
Like Sansa, Sandor living in a white cottage on a hill somewhere.
By the way, just as a sneak preview for the Balticon audio, to anybody who wasn't there, one of my favorite of the what if questions that we discussed was what if Sansa had run away with the Hound at Blackwater.
It's a very good what if.
Yeah. So much could change.
So, shall we go to ratings?
I would like to read this one paragraph from Sheriff Bullock real fast. His opening from his email, which I think kind of summed it up for me similarly as well. He writes, "There are two television programs I currently watch week to week, Orphan Black and Game of Thrones." Okay, Orphan Black. Both are having fantastic seasons after disappointing previous seasons, and both just aired their mid-season recalibration episodes in which things are reassessed and rearranged for the back halves. Neither show was offensively bad this week, only disappointing after the wonderful highs of the previous weeks. There was very little about Blood of My Blood that felt essential. In fact, I'm struggling to remember what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure I agree about Orphan Black, though. I mean, certainly the most recent episode was much more internal. I'm just going to say it's much more internal, and it's focused on the inner turmoil of the characters as opposed to the external conflict. But it still worked for me. It didn't feel disappointing to me. But I mean, I can see that though.
Yeah. But it was kind of a huge, big, giant reset, recalibration, and reset back to the first season.
So it's definitely similar in that respect. But what I'll go ahead and say, though, is that I think I was kind of on the record of saying that I didn't necessarily enjoy last week's all that much. I mean, there were great parts in it, but I thought it was very uneven otherwise. Whereas this one... What I was actually going to say when I give my rating is that I reserve it's not super low, but it's lower, but with the option to raise it once we see how some of this stuff pays off.
Okay. Well, it's a good thing that I keep the scores in Google Sheets and not in stone. So you can do that.
All right, well, with that in mind, I will go ahead and rate. I'm going to give this one 8 out of 10 Valerian steel blades.
Nice. I'm going to give it 7 out of 10 rocks removed to uncover a hidden treasure.
And
Nice.
I am going to give this an 8 out of 10 redirectional U-turns. No, sorry. What I meant to say is I'm giving it 8 out of 10 flipped scripts. That's it.
There you go. I like that.
That was what I meant to say. Because I feel like almost every storyline, not all of them, but many of the storylines here, it was just a flipping of the script.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, and Viv, she left me her score this time. She's giving it 9 out of 10 Amelia Clark's adorable eyebrows.
Nice.
So
That Seth Meyers interview, her eyebrows were on point. She is so expressive when she talks. She is so adorable.
So that gives us 8 out of 10 average.
All right. I will say that I briefly at Balticon, I almost got spoiled in the elevator. I didn't watch the episode when it aired live because I was at the Voice of Free Planet X live show, which was amazing. Everybody should go listen to the episode,
epic.
which is now posted on the Voice of Free Planet X podcast feed. Anyway, so I hadn't seen it yet.
But you weren't just there, because we were all there.
I was wearing a luchador mask, rapping on behalf of the Pan Reality Deitor. I'll admit it. It was awesome.
Rapping. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't totally mean to sidetrack that because what I was going to talk about is how I've said it a couple of times on the show, and it's technically a line from the prophecy that Danny gets in the books, because I don't think they've actually said it on the show, but you have to go east to go west.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that Danny kind of runs through her head when she's constantly thinking about these prophecies in the books.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was on one of the crowded elevators at Balticon, and it was observing how some people, because the elevators would always be full, if you're trying to go down, they would always be full coming down, so you press up and get on and ride it up to the top so that you can go back down, because that's faster than trying to wait for an elevator to come with room in it. And so when we were observing that was happening, I said to this other guy on the elevator, I was like, you have to go east to go west. And then he goes, oh, I know, wasn't it amazing when... And I was like... So I saw that coming, but so it meant I had a teensy bit of a clue that there might be something related to Danny deciding to go west for once. You know? So, but yeah. It's just, I was kind of pleased with myself that I saw so quickly. I was able to discern the micro expressions of lighting up. Oh, I'm going to tell you, wasn't that this coolest thing in the episode? Right. And I'm like, no.
That's awesome.
So close.
So we just have a couple more comments. Jennifer gives this episode 7 out of 10 unused chain bells. That's an awesome. And Chooch totally stole Mike's rating system verbatim. I can speak. And he's shaking his fist at you. And he's also totally on board with the Tyrion theory.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes, because he's small. Who else is small?
Well, just like who else of the characters has gotten as memorable a conversation with the dragons?
Yeah.
It's true. It's very true. And so next week's episode is The Broken Man.
Mm. Who could that be? Loras, perhaps?
Well, Arya's going to reunite with the Hound, obviously. Just kidding.
Well, you know, that's the thing, is that this has definitely proven to be a show that sometimes even when you do see the body, they're still not gone for good.
Right. No doubt.
Yeah.
Sheriff Bullock also had rated at the bottom of his email, not a great episode, Game of Thrones, 6 out of 10 botched assassinations.
Yeah.
I definitely, like I said, depending on how the next part goes, because this did feel to me like part one of a two-parter, and so it may be that some of the stuff that'll happen this coming week will make some of the stuff that happened this week feel better. It's also possible that it will do the opposite, in which case I reserve the right to adjust my current score either way.
Yes.
7 is based on hopes that it will be improved.
And on that note,
the court will allow it. All right, that's it for us then. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for. Oh, I forgot to check if we had new iTunes reviews. So if we do have any, I'll read them this time, I promise, and I will thank you for the ones, because we have definitely been getting more ratings. We've definitely been getting stars. Awesome. We had enough that it actually shows up that we have stars on the page now, so nice. We are moving in an awesome direction. As a reminder, you can go to bit.ly/SFM, or no, bit.ly/BTW podcast. bit.ly/BTW podcast takes you straight to the iTunes page. For anybody else who hasn't seen it, make sure that you're subscribed to the correct feed, because even though you've been getting the episodes, it may just suddenly stop at some point and you need to subscribe to the new feed. I don't know that will be the case, but who knows? Apple, I didn't expect them to shut things off when I turned on HTTPS either. So that's it for us this week. We will see you next time. Live recording next Wednesday. Woo. Thanks, everybody.
If you have feedback for the Beyond the Wall podcast, you can email us at btw@specficmedia.com. You can also leave us a comment on the website. Go to specficmedia.com, where you'll find a shiny BTW button. That'll take you right to our page. This podcast is released under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, Share-alike 3.0 Unported license. Feel free to share and remix. Just give us credit and don't charge money for it.